Hello, everybody. Today I am interviewing TaroNuke. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, yeah. You can just call me Taro.
A very prolific mods creator for the UKSRT team. UKSRT. I think isn't that what the T
You
is?
can just call it UKSRT community.
Gotcha. Okay, so we started off all these interviews with a very simple question: how did you get into dance games?
I had a friend, a transfer student in secondary school. I don't know. You guys call that like high school, I guess. Who played lots of DDR and took me to this arcade one day that was like right by where I live. I'd like never heard of dance games before, and showed me this game, and then I started playing it. It's DDR Supernova back in 2006,
Is
and
it
I just like
was it not Dancing Stage over there?
uh yeah, it is Dancing Stage Supernova. Yes,
Okay.
you are correct. The first DDR that we got that was DDR was X in 2008. Um, but yeah, I was just instantly addicted to it. That's pretty much it.
So then you were a part of the DDR community. How did you make the transition to ITG and then also mods charting?
I kind of like wasn't part of the DDR community. Like I played DDR as a thing that I knew existed, but like there wasn't really a community. Well, there wasn't really a DDR community here. And then I found the website DDR UK, which is the DDR community, and it also had like ties to the ITG community. Like a lot of like people that came from the UK, like Brittany, that is quite prolific, was quite prolific in the ITG scene, uh, were like part of DDR UK. But I think what changed me was we had this bootleg ITG machine that just spawned out of nowhere one day at an arcade in central London, and it had this mysterious pack on it called BM and Windu and CMCM,
Okay.
and that's Brother Mojo, Windu, and I don't know who CMCM is actually, but I'm pretty sure they are. Back in the day, they were quite prolific,
Yeah.
and that machine also had mods on it. It had Insomnia Finale, and I played that, and I was like, wait, you can do that with arrows?
Nice.
And that got me into playing mods, but it didn't really get me into making mods. I didn't really get into making mods until I saw Windows Printer Jam mod file.
Hmm.
It's like a classic from one of his Windu Hates You tournaments, and I was like, all right, I'm doing this. I'd been making Flash games since like 2004, so I like already
Okay.
had programming experience.
Okay. What kind of Flash games did you make?
I made some shitty platformers. Uh, I made a point and click adventure that was moderately successful. Reincarnation Let the Evil Times Roll. At the peak of its popularity, it was the second highest rated thing on the Newgrounds portal, like of all time.
Oh
Which is
shit!
it was that for like one day though.
Hey, it
But
doesn't
I mean,
matter. That's so
I
impressive.
screenshotted it because it was cool as fuck. But
Hmm.
um, yeah. So and then after that, I made DJ Maniacs, which is a Flash rhythm game, and that one got like pretty popular.
Was that like a DDR clone?
It was like a Flash DJ Max Technica clone.
Okay. Are those still on the internet?
Yeah, you can play DJ Maniacs. I can like put a link. I can give you a link after.
Oh, please
You
do.
can, you can give it a look.
I think that'd be so fun to play through. Okay, you said you made Flash games and then went into making mods charts. What about Printer Jam made you, I guess, make the transition to just playing mods versus like, oh, I'm going to make them?
I saw a graphic appear on screen and was like, I know how to do that. So I wanted to do that. I feel like I need to tell this story of like how the first like thing that I made that had like gimmicks in it. So I wanted to make something that I hadn't seen done before, even though it turned out like Aoreo had already done this. I just didn't know at the time. Like Aoreo made ITG versus DDR, and I made like my own like shitty version of it, called Mawaru, and
Hmm.
I actually made it for DDR UK's final Simfile tournament. They were hosting their site was like closing down, and they were like, we're gonna run a SimFile tournament, and then I entered it, and only one other person entered, and the person judging it was like, yeah, you would have won.
That's funny. What does Mawaru mean?
So Mawaru is actually just the Japanese name for WarioWare. But the word itself means to, like, visit many places or rotate.
Okay.
Mawaru is pretty much just a bunch of songs from different games sort of smashed together in, like, a progressively increasing in speed nonsense medley. And then, so after I made that, there was a video that someone posted online of them playing it that, like, wasn't me, it was just, like, a random person. And then Windu commented on that video saying, oh, that was pretty well made. And I was like, what? And then I like, I was like, I'm making a second one right now.
Awesome.
Like, cause that shit was synced like the Titanic. It was not synced very well. It was...
That's so funny. Synced like the Titanic. That's a very funny phrase.
It was put together with, like, duct tape in Audacity. And so I had to make a second one that was, like, a little bit better. And then I sent it to Windu. And I was like, I saw you liked the first one, so I made this, and it would be cool if you, like, sight read it. And I was going through some, like, I had to, like, retake an exam because I, like, failed once at university, and, like, I just got out of this exam. I had no expectations that Windu was actually gonna, like, read my message at all, because it's, like, when you're talking to someone that's, like, known in a community and you're just, like, some nobody. But, like, I got out of this exam, and I got this notification that Windu had uploaded a video of him sight-reading Mawaru 2, and I was like, holy shit, because he, like, brought one of his friends as well, who had no idea what they were getting into, and
oh, that's cool.
That was, like, a really fun video to watch. And that's pretty much how I got into the ITG scene, actually.
Okay, so it wasn't through it was mostly through mods then. Did you not play much of, like, the normal ITG?
I played normal ITG as well, but, like, okay. I wasn't, like, anyone really in the scene, so...
Mm. So then, were you the first person who really did mods in the UK?
Ooh. I don't know. I probably was the first person that did mods in the UK, thinking about it.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but I know there were... Oh, there's a cat.
Oh, yeah, that's Jonathan. He's adorable.
I know there are people that played mods before, like, because things like Cattywampus were, like, available to us, but, no, not really. I don't think anyone else did.
Okay, so then how did UKSRT get started? Is there, like, an in-between, like, I guess, how does it go from you making these WarioWare files, or a WarioWare file, inspired file, to UKSRT?
There's quite a bit in between, because, like, I wouldn't actually consider the Mawaru series mods. Well, at least not originally. They were ordinary files with graphics in them.
What's the distinction then? Like, what makes that not a mod chart?
Okay, so ITG has these things built into it called mods that do things to the way the notes move, such as, like, drunk makes them sway from side to side on a sine wave. Tipsy makes them sway up and down on a sine wave, and beat makes them, like, do that on the beat. Mm-hmm. I didn't make files that did that. I made files with graphics in them. I made ordinary files with graphics in them. They didn't change the way the arrows moved at all. And then I graduated into making mods after seeing, like, Printer Jam.
Okay.
In between Mawaru being a thing and having, like, 5 entries, there were 5 Mawarus before from 2009 to 2011, I made, like, Mawaru 1 to Mawaru Finale, and I thought it was done, right? I've used up all of the ideas for the Mawaru series, just all of them. And then me and Jace discovered that you can... So, when a note skin... so note skins have receptors in them, right? The targets that you have to hit.
Yeah.
When you step on an arrow, it actually shrinks a little to show that you stepped on that arrow. Mm. What the game does is it calls a script file to play that animation. In that script file, you can put code that says, player press this button, and use that to detect when a player is pressing a button for minigame inputs.
Okay.
And then I was like, I'm bringing this series back.
We're doing it again.
Yeah. And then then we started making minigames things, and Jace hosted like the gimmick comps where anyone could enter and make files that used this special note skin that we'd cooked up. There is more to that story, but I mean, I feel like I've talked enough about that.
Oh, you can add to it. Tell me the rest of that story. Well, we can get to the other stuff later.
All right. So there are a couple different like things that we'd trial and error our way through, and eventually we settled on one called Divinentity, because Jace's website was Divinology, and so it's like a pun on divine entity, because there was a joke earlier about how the note skins that could do all of these things were called god note skins, and so Jace combined like Divinology with the concept of the god note skin and came up with the name Divinentity.
Divinentity. I like that.
And so Jace would host like these gimmick comps that'd be like prizes, and yeah, lots of people enter. There were judges. It was basically technical showcase, but for making like minigame nonsense. It was a lot of fun.
Interesting. How did you get like people on board with doing that? Like, was there already a community, or did you have to like?
There was, yeah, at the time of gimmick comp stuff happening, there was pretty much already a community. Because like that jumped forward like a couple years to get to that. So I'm going to jump back to like the transition to UKSRT.
Okay.
Because I'd made like a couple really bad mod files because I was like just learning how it worked. And then I released my first one as like practice, and then but from 2009 to 2011 I had still been running tournaments at like, so with DDR UK, me and a few friends were in charge of that like crazy ITG machine that had like we became in charge of it and like traveling around conventions with it, and
like modding it and all that stuff.
Yeah, like the theme was handled by someone called Koizumi, who is not really a part of the community anymore, but was at the time. And there was also Anime League, which is another like London-based anime convention series, and I went up to them because they had this like really crappy Setmania setup. And I was like, hey, I could make this, like, better. Just a little bit. And then, so I trialed out, like, they trialed out running my, like, laptop for the thing. And then, I ran something that people enjoyed, like a little mini tournament. And then the next time, I ran, like, another thing that had, like, a funny ending where I made a special chart that had a really low BPM, and that was like the challenge of the final round of this bootleg tournament.
Were these mods tournaments, or were they like
no, these were just normal charts tournaments. They were sight reading tournaments, but like it was with charts that I picked from other people's packs that they had, and the entrants didn't know the charts, so
gotcha.
Because it was just like passers-by and like con goers, so they could play like 8s tops. So I'd like take like lowers from a fucking someone else's pack and just put it in the sight reading tournament. And then there'd be like a final round that was just like something I charted that was I thought would be a good fitting end, that was like a 7 or something, but with a stupid twist. Like you had to play it on bumpy.
the bumpy challenge. That's funny.
And then it eventually progressed to, because I'd been watching the Windu Hates You and the Ken SRT tournament series in the US. It progressed to, I want to do one of these but in the UK, and I called it UKSRT because it was Ken's SRT but in the UK. And
That's
it
good.
had all original stages.
Okay. So were those events purely SRT events then?
No, there were whole ass anime conventions. They just happened to have like a bit where people played DDR, and it was just like, you have permission to run this tournament. Here's like 50 pounds. I was about to say $50, but it's 50 pounds. For like the prize for the winner. Give that to the winner when they win.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, they just let us have free reign.
That's so cool. So is the UKSRT stuff still ongoing?
Oh yeah, it like the last one we did was in 2019, and then we couldn't do one for like 2 years because of the pandemic. Um, but UKSRT X was pretty much the biggest one we'd done.
Is it still tied to the anime convention?
No. So after SRT 6, I believe SRT 6 was the last one that was at Anime League. We started hosting them at the Heart of Gaming after that, which is just an arcade that's run by a friend of mine. It's for a while it was like the premier arcade in London because there just weren't any arcades in London that were good.
You're also an admin for the UKSRT Discord.
Yes.
From my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that kind of seems to be like the focal point of the mods community in general for ITG.
It is now, yeah. It wasn't really intended to be. It just kind of happened.
Okay, how did that happen?
There just weren't any other places.
Okay.
And then since this one existed, I guess no one just felt the need to make any other places. It started in 2016, pretty much just after UKSRT 8 happened. So like at UKSRT 5, I met my current partner Nil. They just entered as like an attendant. I didn't really know who they were, but like we started talking, and then like now, like 7 years later, we're still together.
That's cute. Love to see dance game couples.
And then like, but they do like a lot of art for it now. Like a lot of the character design and art is like their characters and stuff, so they're like a big part of it. But UKSRT 8 was like the first one that was pretty much fully written by Nil, and like most of the new characters were designed by Nil as well. Like especially the villain, who's like really popular. She's in the like server. Well, she was in the server icon, but she's in the server banner. And people really like this character, so they're kind of like a mascot now.
That's how do you like add to lore then? Like, do you all just like do you have like a lore team and then you like go into like a secret lore chat room and like this is what's gonna happen? Or
for the most part, like it's I've described it like this before, and I think it's still apt. It's kind of like how the MCU operates currently. So you have UKSRT, which is kind of like the Iron Man franchise. It has like its own writers. That's me and Nil, and like character designs. We like do all the lore for that. But you also have Celestial Harbor, which is kind of like the Ant-Man series, for example. And it's like that one's written by Daiki. And then you have NJSRT, which is written by Sering, and these are people that have like been inspired by all of us inspiring each other to make like characters and stories and stuff. And then you have the crossovers, like Mods Boot Camp 3, which was kind of like Infinity War, and it was just like all of these characters coming together, and we like wrote our own lines and like made them all fit together in like a discussion team, and it was really fun. Like Mods Boot Camp 3 was great fun.
that's really cool. I didn't even know there was other people like Daiki and them though. NJ New Jersey SRT?
Yes, it is. NJSRT is run by Sering.
Okay. I didn't even know that was a thing. I don't live near New Jersey. Do they have their own events too?
They had one in December of 2017, and then been progressively like destroyed by more and more real life things, so there hasn't been a second one since, but they're still working on it.
Okay. So then I guess what is your creative process like for making a mods chart then?
For making a mods chart is completely different from writing a tournament though.
Okay.
Making a mods chart in general, I start by just making a chart. I have an idea of what I want to do in the song, and like I hear a song and I hear a mod in the song. I'm like, okay, this part of the song that's doing that, that's definitely doing that, and I like open it up in a sandbox that's like a random test file and see if I can implement the idea, and if I can, I like drag it over into the sim file that I'm working on, and do all the bits that you have ideas for first, and then do all the filler in between, and then that's your mod file.
Okay. What's the story behind UKSRT coming to U of I and doing site read tournaments there? Because it seems like a big effort to fly over the world.
The very first time I went to the United States, okay, I don't remember the exact context for why I did this, but I randomly decided to get a bunch of friends together, people that Windu knew, and not tell him, to make a fully playable game for his birthday. And, like, a bunch of his friends, like, had, like, cameos in this Flash game that I was making. And I got people like, Steve Reen, Jace, Miko, Pat, Casey, and Zelo, and a few other people to, like, make, like, little cameos in this game. And we presented it to him on his birthday. It's this, like, Mega Man parody called Megadoo. And
is that public?
I'm planning to do, like, I've almost done with, like, a remaster of it, and I'm gonna post it on, like, itch or something and make it like a pay what you want, but it's free kind of game. But it was made for his birthday, and Windu liked it so much that he, like, flew me to U of I to sight read one of his Windu Hates Yous.
Oh, that's so cool.
And that was like the first time I'd been to the States, actually, I think.
That's awesome. That's such a funny story.
Well, I like went as a kid, but, like, I don't remember that. So, like, that was like the first time that I remember that I went to the States, and I, like, got to meet all of the USITG community, and that was a lot of fun.
So then how did that turn into you hosting a tournament for U of I?
I went, like, I started going to U of I just for fun, like, to the spring ones in, like, 2015, and pretty much went every year. And in 2018, I don't remember exactly what happened, but somehow, well, like, it wasn't me running Monster Mash 3. It was technically Nil running Monster Mash 3, because, Nil wrote the full story and got, like, a bunch of us to just, like, we took one round each. And I don't know, I feel like someone at U of I was just, like, on board with that. And it turned out really well. And because that turned out really well, that allowed me to just rock up and go, hey, I want to do a next mods boot camp. And everyone was just like, yeah, sure.
That's so cool.
And then I did. And I got Daiki to, like, help me organize it, and Hal and Puro to help with mods. And we put together 45 files somehow for Mods Bootcamp 3.
That's a lot of files. That's a lot of files, especially,
and, like,
mods.
Each file is, like, a tribute to a character. So from either one of my characters, one of Nil's characters, or, like, Daiki and Hal have their own characters, and then there's a file for a character from NJSRT, even though he wasn't at the event. Wait, no, he did go to that one, and we didn't tell him, and we made that file for him, and he loved it.
That's cute. I love that.
And there's, like, there are loads of, like, tribute characters that just, like, shout out to this person's content.
Yeah, that's also one thing I really, I guess, respect about the mods community is how, I guess, responsible y'all are with like, referencing and, like, giving tribute to each other, and, like, building off of other things, to create, like, this huge expansive, like, mods universe with lore.
Yeah, it's like, we joke about it, but, like, we call it the Mods Cinematic Universe, and it has the same acronym as the MCU.
So you are also the creator of NotITG.
True. NotITG that recently got into Games Done Quick.
Really? Okay, so two questions here then. The first one being, because I don't think I have a lot of mods viewers on the channel, what is NotITG?
NotITG is not in the groove too. It's okay. So OpenITG came after ITG2. It's just like an open source version of, and I took this open source version of ITG and made a bunch of changes that made it easier for me to run these stupid events at the Anime League and MCM Comic Con events. And at the time it was just called fuck.exe. And
Nice.
it's just a bunch of silly changes. Like I coded in my own like extra stage system for the event that was like a parody of Replicant D action from DDRX2 that had like a bunch of different charts that we just slot in, and people who were good at the game would like experience suddenly having to play a weird extra stage that probably destroyed them because it was mods.
That's funny.
So that's what NotITG was originally. And then by the time we got to UKSRT 4 in 2013, I had this one effect that used a note skin where the arrows would stay straight up, but the playfield would rotate, and the arrows would be facing the correct orientation regardless of where they were on screen, like regardless of the rotation of the playfield. But in order to test that, it was 4 minutes into a 5-minute song.
Oh.
And you had to go to gameplay and wait the first 4 minutes to see that something was broken, make a minor change, and do it again.
Oh.
And I was like, this is not acceptable. So I like got the source code, I like looked at how it worked, I looked at how the playfields were spawned in the editor, and it turns out that in order to access player 1 and player 2, it has to be named player P1 and player P2, which is how it is in gameplay, but it isn't like that in the editor. What if I just put that in? Would it work? And then it just did. And I was like, why didn't they do that? They could have just done that.
I guess because no one made mods, no one ever thought of it.
Yeah, but then I did that, and then I went to the section, like, beat 500 and something, and I hit play, and it just worked. And I was like, wait, I can actually fix this without having to play the whole thing? And for a while, I made a 3.95 version of it as well for anyone who wanted to use it. It was just called Fuck Stepmania 3.95. And so that was like released, but I didn't make things that were exclusive to it because it was primarily just a tool, right? It was primarily a tool for helping people to make mods. But then, in a weekend in 2015, me, Puro, the finished guy who also made mods, Puro's one of like OG ITG modders as well. Me and a Finnish guy were at Brittany's place, and we were like, Puro was like, could you just add mods to the game? And then I went into the part of the game where all the mods are like located and calculated, and I was like, I just started typing some numbers in, and I added this mod called Zigzag, and it made the notes go like that instead of like a sine wave.
Okay.
And I just put that in. That was probably the first new mod that was added to fuck.exe. And then a light bulb went off in my head, like, we can just do whatever we want now. So for UKSRT 8, it was the first UKSRT that was entirely built on, like, the whole concept of it was like, yeah, no, those mods that you knew, they're gone now. We can just turn the arrows to the side and leave them that way.
You don't have to figure out the right Disney percent or Dizzy percent to
Disney
make things.
percent. Yeah, no, yeah. You can just leave them rotated sideways. And we did that for a mod. And in one of the stages, it threw people off having all these weird new mods. And so we just like went all in on making stuff that just was not compatible with ITG. So the name NotITG stuck. So when we released it, we just called it that. And it's actually named after obscure piece of trivia. NotITG was named after ITG Alex's ITG stream setup, where when he was playing with the Stomper's timing window on the results screen, in the top bar it would say NotITG to let people know that he wasn't playing on ITG timing windows, he was playing with the Stompers life bar and timing windows.
Interesting. That is a very interesting crossover. I would not have expected
That's where the name came from. Yeah.
Okay, the second question that I was going to ask. You mentioned it got into Awesome Games Done Quick.
It did. Spoody Biscuit is going to be doing a NotITG Mods Play showcase at Awesome Games Done Quick 2022.
Really? How did that, like, because it's not a speed run, right?
Yeah, but there are music games at Games Done Quick, and they're exhibitions rather than speedruns.
Gotcha. The mods is objectively the most interesting mode for ITG spectating.
Yeah, people that don't know what a dance game is can see like a character appear on screen and call you a bitch and be like, all right, I'm interested now.
It's like I've noticed that the mods community doesn't have too much overlap with the other two communities of Stamina and Tech, whereas Stamina and Tech does have a lot of overlap. And I'm wondering, why do you think that is?
Because a lot of people that like mods are just weenies. Like we don't want to play hard things. Like it's not physically taxing, it's mentally taxing, and that's more fun for us.
Okay.
We're
that's fair.
Like squishy wizards. But and a lot of people don't really put emphasis on charting in the mods community, and I feel like they should. I feel like more people need to take like action in learning how to write good charts, because you see like people come in and be like, I'm making these cool mods, and they are, but like if the chart isn't palatable, it makes the mods feel worse. A lot of how to read mods comes from the implicit like social contract you enter into with the chart that it is not going to have double steps and foot parity is going to be respected. And like you can get through a mod that you don't know how to read just by assuming the pattern is going to be logical.
Yeah, or like the thing that step charters and the other communities care about is like consistency, right? Like if you have a certain sound and it comes like you make that sound a crossover, then the next time that sound comes over or comes through, it's probably also it should be a crossover too.
That is something that I will call out like incessantly when like critiquing others' charts. Like it has to be consistent like that, especially with mods, because how else are you gonna read it?
Yeah.
If you can't see anything.
This is something I've noticed when I was talking with other mods people. Like, what's the difference between like something that's just legitimately hard versus something that's like unfair and not good design?
Oh man, this is a whole topic. I love this topic though.
Okay. Yeah.
So like we have this we have this concept called a reaction time funny moment, where if an arrow suddenly appears and you need to hit it, that's pretty bad design. The arrow has to be on screen. It has to tell you what it wants to do, and it has to tell you when you have to hit it. And all of those have to be like respected, otherwise it's just nonsense. And there are a lot of rules in the mod meta as well. So like if you see an arrow on the left side of the screen and you can't tell what the direction is, it's probably a left arrow. If you see an arrow on the right side of the screen and you can tell what the direction is, it's pointing to the left, that is definitely a left arrow. So like the info that you have is the most prominent info in what's being like what you expected to do.
Mm-hmm.
And also you can just like look at the receptors, and there's a whole like
that's very
hierarchy.
That's interesting. Could you explain the hierarchy a little bit, like just a general overview?
In reading mods, there are like, I'd say like 4 things to look out for. So first is like the arrow direction. Like if you can clearly see the directions of the arrows, that is the most important thing, no matter where they are. If it's like you can see like a left, down, up, right, and those directions are like clear to you, regardless of where those arrows are on screen, the pattern is going to be left, down, up, right. There's horizontal positioning. The order of the arrows is always like LDUR in that order. So if the directions are like complete nonsense, like the arrows are spinning or whatnot, or there's just blobs, it's going to be based on position. So like left, down, up, right is going to be, if it's to the left of the middle, it's going to be a left arrow, like that sort of thing. And then there is the arrow color, which is like super important for working out the rhythm, even like in non-mods. For like working out the rhythm of a song that you've never seen before, you can read the colors and be like, red, green, 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 red is going to be like da-da-da-da-da-da,
Yeah.
like that. If you can do that, you're pretty good, like in terms of reading mods. And then the last thing is just vertical spacing, the fourth thing. So like you use this arrow being like this far apart in sixteenths to mean it's not going to be a 16th, it's like da-da, it's going to be like a dotted 16th, it's like da-da. Okay. And that's pretty much it, yeah, for reading the mods. That's like the least important one, because that one gets fucked around with a lot. And yes, no mod file is going to take away more than like 2 of those. If you take away 3 of those at a time, it's really, really hard to read, but not impossible. And if you take away all 4, it's basically just nonsense. Like, it's unreadable.
That's very cool. I didn't know it was, like, formalized.
There's a quote from Toho that I really like for describing, like, mods design philosophy. In Toho, there's a system called, like, the spell card system, where bosses have these attacks that they use that use up this, like, a concept called a spell card. And a spell card was created as like a non-violent conflict resolution in the Toho universe. And so they use these attacks that are mostly just like flashy and like showing off the character's personality. And I feel like that's what mods are, basically. Like, the exact quote from Toho, from Marissa, from like the Grimoire of Marissa goes, it's easy to make like a Danmaku with no gaps. But that's not Danmaku, it's just murder. It's easy to just make a mod file that just completely takes the arrows away, and they're just invisible for the whole chart, and you just have to memorize 2 minutes of chart. And that's not mods, that's just bullshit.
Every time I talk to mods people, like the Toho influence is like so deep. Like, I thought that was just like a cute little like aesthetic thing, but like y'all are even like getting inspiration from the game and like how the Toho is done.
There's even a thing baked into the game on the result screen. So like, you know, in current SM5 you can press left and right on the result screen to see like the different scoring types. In NotITG we have a spell card viewer. People can label sections of chart, and then you can see your judgment breakdown in that individual section of the chart. So you can see, like, you got this many greats, excellence, fantastics in this 16-beat stretch.
That's
and it's,
so
like, segmented
cool.
that way on the result screen.
That's so cool. I had no idea that was a thing. I am, I guess, out of questions. Do you have anything you want to add before we go to charts?
I mean, I guess I didn't talk much about the lore.
Yeah, so lore. Tell us about lore.
So the first one, it started with like the Ayase, one of the main who's currently one of the main characters, Koizu's character, talking about wanting to steal the prize money. And then the second one we did was like, it was themed around Rhythm Heaven. I wanted to introduce a bunch of other characters that I had, and that was a lot of fun. And then the third one was when we started going, all right, we're gonna make this like lored up now. So the third UKSRT was a parody of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Okay. And just like a jump.
It's a little heavy.
A little bit of a jump. And then we had like an on-screen character death, and it was all dramatic and stuff.
Jesus, it's really heavy for anime convention tournaments.
Yeah, but it was like themed around anime, so we knew people would get it. Like we knew our audience.
Yeah.
And then we did another one that was more silly and lighthearted after that, and then we did a couple more game parody ones, and then starting with UKSRT 8, that was the first one that like Nil pretty much fully wrote. We were like, what if we told like a completely original story? And then we sort of did, and sort of based it around Trauma Center, but we had this character come in who is a sentient deadly virus, and her name is Shame, and everyone loves her. And she basically is accidentally let loose, and that started this thing called the Virus Arc, which is a 4-part story arc, which we're currently on part 3 of. And the first one had introduced us to Shame, the virus, and then after SRT8, we got, like, a character brought in a vaccine that, like, made you immune to Shame, but it didn't get rid of her, so she's just kind of, like, begrudgingly a shoulder angel that's, like, trying to keep you out of danger because you're no longer contagious, but if you die, she dies, so it's in her best interest to just be like a little sister on your shoulder.
That's fun.
And then in SRT9, you get, like, sucked into a computer, and then you meet, like, another virus that's, like, a computer virus. I think stage 4 of SRT9 is the stage that has... the single stage that has necessitated the most engine changes to the whole game of NotITG.
Why is that?
So, the first thing I did, I, like, sneakily added this into the game in, like a mini patch. I was like, I added a debug feature that lets you see the paths that the arrows move as they travel to the receptors. I called it Arrow Pass. But the true reason I added it was for the Groove Coaster parody in stage 4 of SRT9, because I had this whole section where the receptors, like, follow this path in, like, one long continuous driven drop down the entire stage. And then I added FMS Cat added shaders to the game. Holy crap. So shaders weren't a thing until a Japanese demo scener,
FMS Cat,
came along and added shaders to the game. Like, a Japanese demo scener, like, came second at Tokyo Demo Fest and all that crap. They came in and they were like, hey, can I implement shaders into your game? And they were like, I've never done C++ before, so it might take a while. And then, like, they went into their cave, and 3 days later, like, shaders were just implemented.
I like how it took 3 days.
Yeah, they were just like, it just works now.
That's funny.
So we're like, how do you make shaders? I had to, like, learn that. And then we started putting them into files. And man, what else was that? I added a thing that lets you change note skin mid-sim file without a course file, which is... it doesn't sound as significant as it really is, because it sounds like something like, why couldn't you just do that? But it's step mania.
That's every time I hear like either like Steve Reen or someone that, like, actually codes for Stepmania, that's exactly what they say. They're like, it's Stepmania, this shouldn't be difficult, but it's Stepmania.
Yeah. I had to rewrite the hold renderer at one point because ITG does this stupid thing where holds, for some reason, can't go back on themselves in a way that's different to the way they came up, even though regular notes can. So if you have a mod that you've implemented into the game, say you're implementing mods, you have a mod that makes a note go like that to the targets,
yeah.
The hold is gonna go like before going to the targets.
That's so weird.
And I know why this was done. This was done so the OG ITG mod Boomerang wouldn't look stupid, pretty much.
Okay.
But they're like, and then, like, I think, like, it had an interaction with Tipsy, but the behavior is different between hold notes and regular notes, and I was like, what if that wasn't the case? And so I had to, like, write my own holds thing where the holds follow the path the arrows would travel if they weren't holds. And then I had to do, like, a bunch of geometry to make the tail curve around correctly as well, and that took, like, 3 months.
That sounds like it would take a very long time, especially, like, because then you'd have to, like, port how Boomerang works. I'm not sure if you actually...
You have to, like, fix it, basically, yeah. You have to, like, account for all the edge cases. And things were, like, broken for a long time, and then I added another version of it that fixed it. But, well, I just changed it so that it fixed it, but then everyone was like, but put it back! The behavior that was broken, we've used it in, like, 6 files now! So I had to make, like, a third variant of it.
That's so funny. That's like that's just software. That's how software works. If you
Yeah.
have something that's weird and buggy, people like build software on top of it, and then you have to. It's now a feature, not a bug.
Oh yeah, and then there's splines, which is something that SM5 had, but I didn't like SM5 splines, so I made my own shit version.
What's a spliant?
A spline is a list of points, like a Bezier curve that you like put down these points and it go, all right, figure it out, and it like makes a curve between them.
Okay.
So like there was an SM5 version of that didn't play very nicely with holds, and I wanted one that I understood because I didn't understand how theirs worked either. So I made one that was really simple, but it turned out to be like just more convenient overall. So now 5.3 is using the spline implementation that I came up with for mod files.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at transitions in these interviews.
Just put up a slide that says cool transition and have that be the transition.
I'm going to use that audio clip. That's exactly going to be in there. This first file is from your early career. It is called Mawaru Maiden Step Mania.
Yes.
And this is the first one, right?
This is the one that is synced like the Titanic.
Yes. Okay. And earlier in the interview, normally I ask for the context, but you discussed it earlier in the interview.
Yeah.
So, you have anything else to add?
Not really, other than it is very much the zeitgeist at the time.
What do you mean by that? Like
it was very much the like, this person is clearly trying to fit in with the ITG community humor.
Gotcha. So, okay. Let us. Oh, I like how in the banner I didn't notice this. It says play 2.5 or 3x.
Yeah, because there's no BPM display. There's no BPM range. I like took that out because the BPM is just like 150 to 3 question marks. But you'll be fine if you play 3x basically.
Yeah, I remember that being like a big problem with the early mods charts, like the really early one. Like if you chose the wrong BPM, you'd be screwed.
Yes. We solved this problem by having all mod files force a speed mod after a while. We were just like, yeah, you know what? It's better if the file just chooses the speed mod for you, so you don't get like hoed by a song that's like 600 BPM.
Yeah, that happened. Windows Gigadelic, which is like with that stuttery thing, if you made it too fast.
That's like 12 billion BPM.
Yeah, you just couldn't read it. But okay, let us get into it. Okay. Oh, we get to
What
see.
speed are they gonna choose?
Oh,
They can't decide.
No.
Wait, no, don't play it on hallway. Okay, thank you. They're playing the 5. All right, that's fine. All right. So,
I
they're
guess
not playing the 5. Yeah, what? No, we don't want to play the 5.
So wait,
okay.
why are there different charts to that?
Because it just has lowers. It's a chart that has lowers in it. I don't know what else to say. Like, sometimes for the Mawaru series in particular, I always include lowers in those because I want it to be something that even people that don't play dance games can enjoy. So, the lowers will be like the steps are a 2, but all of the nonsense mini games will be intact, so you can still play those.
That's really cool. Yeah. No, that's all. That's a very thoughtful answer for a dumb question in retrospect. So why do you have easier versions? That makes no sense. This is the stamina and FA player in my brain talking. Okay,
Right,
I think
this one doesn't really go hard on the mods. It's more focused on just like the jokes of the time. Like, so let me tell you how this is gonna work. I'm gonna tell you to do something, and you're gonna do it. And that's all the context you need. It's like 150 BPM. The first one, it's max 150.
I love max 150.
And then, like, yeah, obviously you got... Well, it's not obvious, but, like, DDR called weird quantizations chaos back then. And then, like, no one says noob anymore, but this was just, like...
Why was that streaming like a noob?
Because it was... I don't even know. Like, I think I made the 13, And I was like, people are just that. It has to be a 13, right? But like, it's got easier patterns than the ones that appear later in the song, so it's the easiest version of the Stream Like series. So there's some crossovers. So Stream Like X is actually a recurring joke in. Oh man, the $800 boom.
That is a.
It put the mines there. It like made it like warp into the mines, so you get hit by them.
That's funny. That's an old reference over there.
Yeah.
I think that was like an official ITG tournament too. Wasn't it?
It was. I think it was Evil Dave, that he celebrated too early, and then he like clapped. And then he just hit the mines because he wasn't like looking at the screen anymore. And like as a parody of that, I just put the mines right at the end of the hold instead of like a little bit after as the joke. And this is the second one in the Stream Like a series, so this is like a
man.
Slightly harder one because the BPM's a little bit faster and there's like 2 more candles.
Oh, I forgot this song existed. I fucking loved this song back in the day.
Same. And then, so, it's very, like, WarioWare inspired. So, it, like, gives you things to do, and then this chart's kind of bad, but it, like, gives you things to do, and then you just gotta do them. Mm-hmm. And there's, like, references to Mungyo Dance charts. That's a Mungyo Dance chart. And then the WarioWare transitions to speed up.
This is the old song.
Yeah, the old Paranoia. I don't know where the word tagging came from. I saw it described on like a DDR Freak thread. I was like, okay, I guess that's what that's called. But like, no one's called it that, like, ever.
No.
And then... What is it? 200. Okay, so Stream Like a Pro is just like reference to Eggman's One More Lovely, but a little bit easier than the actual One More Lovely chart.
Yeah, this is such a, like a nice little timepiece of like ITG at the time.
And then the last one is Dash Hopes.
The Dash Hopes.
And that's the final boss stage. Yeah, that's the first Mawaru.
Nice. That's the first like your first popular chart or your first chart in general?
It's my first popular chart. Because I made like a bunch of incomprehensible ass garbage. I mean, like, I've made a lot of incomprehensible ass garbage for a very long time. Like, I was 20 years old before I got a chart in an actual tech tournament.
Oh wow.
I got my first chart in ECFA 2021. Pom Pom Pako Daisen Saw. And it's one of the only charts in ECFA 2021 that has actual whole-ass mods in it.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know they threw mods in on those charts. Like, usually the FA players hate the mods.
That's what... It kind of was the case. And then a few, like, key people were like, no, people have to get good at this now.
We determine it. This is now a skill set. Or now a skill set that FA is going to try.
It pretty much started in Democracy. In 2020, Demo started hosting a SimFile contest, and the winner would get prize money, and I decided to enter it. And pretty much every round, I would submit a mod file. Like, even if it wouldn't win. But I also got lots of feedback on the charts themselves, so I started writing competent tech charts as well. So, like, they had to play the mods. They couldn't be mad at them. And then eventually mod charts started winning the Democracy rounds.
Got them.
And that made others start writing mods for Democracy. So we got, like, Zaya winning the most recent round of Democracy 2021 with a full-ass mod file that he just cobbled together. Mods started becoming, like, part of the tech meta.
Perfect.
And then we have mod files in ECFA 2021. Like, there's even mods in charts that aren't written by me in ECFA 2021 now. They had Implode's Tower Block, which is fully impossible, but very cool.
Anyway, back on track. So this second one is Uh, okay.
Sakuramichi
SRT
Overdrive.
Sakuramichi Overdrive. What is the context behind this one?
So Sakuramichi Overdrive was the final round of the last Anime League UKSRT. This was summer 2015, and I don't know. I decided this one was a Metal Gear Solid themed UKSRT, and it was all really like funny and silly, and the final boss was this character called Neko, who generally was a cameo character who would have like bit parts in really unimportant roles, because she was just a character that was for a canceled like ITG adventure mode thing I wanted to do, but I still had the character lying around, so I wanted to put her in places. But in this tournament, for the final stage, we completely just like threw the whole plot out and was like, the whole thing was orchestrated by Neko, who wanted to be a final boss for real this time. And we had Kaju Inu design like a magical girl transformation for her, and they did the art for it. And it's very fun. The stage is very silly, and I think you will like it.
Absolutely. Shall we hop into it then?
Yeah.
Perfect. Beautiful.
So this gimmick is pretty straightforward. It's like you see the arrow and then you hit it when it reaches the targets. That's how dance games work in general, but it's doubly true here.
Yep.
Bringing in some column swaps.
And so these column swaps are kind of going to that like music in the background?
Yes.
Like the little boop, 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 boop.
That's pretty much the mods. Like, mods evolve into that from the basics of turn on a mod at this and leave it on for 2 measures. But, like, at some point we realized you could grab the top screen, which is just, like, the whole screen container, and move that around.
What are the...
time with the music.
What are the... Oh, wait, never mind.
Alright, do you want to pause for a sec?
Yeah, what are these... Like, the... Every now and then, like, the... Yeah, that where the screen goes, like... Like, what are those?
Yeah, it's following that little noise in the background of the song. It goes like bing bang bop. And that's like grabbing the top screen, which is the container for all on-screen objects, and just like rotating it a little bit.
Oh, okay. There
it's like pivoted on the top left corner for some reason, but that's fine. That was like a limitation at the time, actually. There were ways to work around that, but... And then this is a flicker mod, which, okay. Pause for a sec. So, flickers are quite cool, because back then we only had 2 players, right? In NotITG now we have, like, 6. Well, we have 8, actually. But I mostly just use 4 or 6. At the time, you couldn't do that, so I do a thing I like to call a Atari Pac-Man trick. Okay. In Atari Pac-Man, there is only one ghost. It just flickers between all 4 locations to give the illusion of there being 4 ghosts.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, it's like it's like anime ninjas running really fast in a circle, so you can see multiple ninjas.
It is, and I did that here to have 4 playfields.
Oh my god, that's awesome. And yeah, it totally works.
It does, yeah. You can read them like 4 playfields.
That is so cool. Does it matter which one you read? Are they all the...
No, they're the same chart. And then this is using the flicker to just create something that was quite challenging to read at the time, but it's like pretty standard nowadays.
Okay. Because this is like 2015, you said, right?
Yeah. Okay. And then here's the drop.
This is so cool. I like how it's all moving to the wubs.
Yeah. And then we did like a Smash Brothers thing.
Yeah. So
what was fight?
What was that? Is that like the player attacking the Neko boss?
Yeah, that's the play. That's like a thing that had been a thing for since the like Ken SRTs. After a certain like section of the file had been completed, the boss would take damage, and
Okay.
this was kind of like an original take on it. We like did a Smash Brothers, the boss is taking damage from this attack.
Okay. And then I'm not
Instead of having a health bar, which was the standard at the time.
Okay. So yeah, like it's at 20, and then after that section, that's the attack. Okay. I
Yeah,
just
for
wanted-
you clearing this section is what damages the boss. Specifically hitting that last note.
Very cool.
And this was the first time a tangent wave had been used in mods.
What is
I
it?
just like slapped that into a math function, and like that's just something. This is a. Alright, pause for a sec.
Yep.
So this file is 100% OpenITG compatible. It doesn't use any like NotITG things. So all of the code that's happening is being handled by Lua. So there's a concept called a per frame, which basically just means do this function once per frame. It's similar to like an update loop in like Unity or something, where you can run code every frame based on some things. Like, so to do that like little tangent wave, I'd be like, the percentage of drunk currently active is, 32 times math.tan of the current beat times pi, and it would make it do it once per beat because it'd be a circle that would cycle back every beat. And stuff like that's really fun because it's like, if you were to write that in an old ass CRS file, it would be like thousands of lines of mods. But because you have access to an update loop, you don't need to write mod lines. You can just directly change the value of the current mods. And that's a lot of fun. Like, a lot of effects like that started cropping up later. Like,
That's
once
very
we broke free of CRS.
I like when I talk to mods people, like everyone mentions breaking free from CRS like it's like this huge oppressive force, you know.
I mean, it's like, imagine if you had to, like, in Minecraft or something, before you have a furnace, before you have iron, you have to like punch trees to get wood. It's kind of like that. You have to write all the mods in one at a time. You're not allowed to like ease them. You're not allowed to use math. And every mod percentage has to be handwritten. There's people like Dark Link writing fucking Java applications that output mods into CRSs in order to get smoother mods.
Jeez, that's wild.
The second verse, it's like the same as the first, but it's a little bit harder because the patterning's like a little bit more challenging. And then there's another 4-player section that's, this one's easier, but then a laser comes in that blocks some of them, so you have to switch which one you're looking at. You can't just follow one. And then there's a second drop, which, again, same as the first, but with slightly harder patterns and like a different column reverse swap type thing. We call those scar gimmicks. And then here comes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, pause it.
How do you make like the mod, like the same mod harder? Do you just like do it more rapidly, or?
So like, there are multiple ways you can do that. Go back like 5 seconds because the thing that's about to happen is really funny. So how to make a mod harder? You can just put harder patterns, like patterns that use more arrows. So like if the first time it appeared, it was only like left down, upright, upright. That's like the bread and butter pattern. That's like the easiest thing to read ever. So if you start going like left down, upright, upright, the person can intuit that the next arrow is going to be like left up, down right, because it's like the standard like 4 boxes.
Yeah.
And then because music just works like that, you always have the and it's like it does like a left right roll. But when there's like language in charting that's built up like that, that's just like, okay, I can put the mods, I can make whatever mod I want here because it's just implied that that is going to be the rest of the pattern. And when you want to make a mod harder, you can break free of that and just do normal patterns, and it's just like, uh-oh, you actually have to read this now. And
Interesting.
and then you can go one step further by adding a crossover.
Oh, no, I don't know about that. That's a little too spicy.
And a crossover is generally used when you want to really make sure that that person knows how this mod works. Because, like, handling crossovers even in, like, normal charts is like, oh god, I have to use my brain for this.
Mm-hmm. The left foot on the right panel?
It very quickly becomes, like, extremely brain melty if you're not extremely good at the mod that is currently happening. Alright, so there's a funny coming up. So I like putting bullshit in my charts, just like something that completely shakes up what's going on.
Okay.
So there's a fake crash. And it goes to, like, so this was the desktop of the Anime League cabinet at the time. But the notepad opens, and you're just playing in the notepad window while the game is loading in the background.
That is so cool. This is awesome. Oh, it even has, like, the the sticky keys.
Yeah. One last chorus. This one's much harder because it's bobbing up and down, and it's also at a steeper angle, so it's harder to work out the directions of the arrows. And then this is, again, like, it's harder than it was before because there's more steps. So, like, I put steps on the... it's not just holds. You actually have to read arrows in the tangent wave. And then the finale. And then she hits the screen like in Smash.
Just like in Smash Brothers. That's so cool.
Alright, so we're gonna go to the final one.
Yes, so this one is
Mawaru Gold.
Mawaru Gold SRT. This is the 10th anniversary one that you were mentioning earlier. So what's the context behind this?
So this was stage 3 of UKSRT X, the most recent tournament that I ran. And this is pretty much a celebration of the Mawaru series. The context of the stage in the context of the tournament is that person in the middle is me, right? It's Taro. But in the context of the tournament, it's the character I mentioned earlier, the shapeshifter Peach, pretending to be me.
Okay.
In order to trick people into entering this dance game tournament in order to steal their energy as they tire themselves out playing the files.
Cool.
And yeah, let's just go into it.
Okay. I love anything 2DX Gold is awesome.
Let's do this. So we circle back to Mawaru 1 for that opening. But all the, like, mini challenges are original to this Mawaru.
Mm-hmm.
So Quake is a parody of the... well, it's not really a parody, it's just straight up the chart from Rip 10 singles.
Okay.
And then all the intermission transitions are from previous Mawarus. So that one was from Mawaru Finale 2011.
So how do you control this one?
This one is left and right to aim up or down.
Okay.
To break the targets. And it actually tells you which Mawaru the transition is from at the top.
That's very
And,
cool.
like, what year it was from. Okay, stop for a sec. I mentioned the word SCAR gimmicks during Sakuramichi. Basically, SCAR is short for Split, Cross, Alternate, Reverse. And those are mods that are present in, like, standard ITG, and the acronym SCAR was came up with by a person called Pineapple, and she noticed that I had I ordered them that way on this little website that you can, like, move the columns around and it would tell you what the mod percentage is required to make that configuration. because of the way this split, cross, alternate, reverse gimmicks interact with each other, you can move any column vertically anywhere using a combination of these 4 mods, which is really interesting in my opinion. Because it's a super unintuitive system that has a lot of depth for literally no reason. Like, why did they do this in ITG? Like, what person was gonna use this functionality?
Programmer got bored.
But we do. Proxies are basically just copies of objects in Stepmania. You can, like, make a proxy of an object and get a copy of it. So we just spam playfields.
Yeah. This is very good.
Ready? NotITG is a 3D game engine that just happens to have a rhythm game stapled onto it.
So this is literally like a monkey ball. That is so neat.
Time over.
It took a long time to make that work. That's Caden from NJSRT, just getting a little cameo.
Yeah.
So this is like a little Crash Bandicoot inspired type thing,
Okay.
where you gotta cross a river by jumping on these lily pads and not getting eaten by the flowers. Whoa, pause a sec, this is important. So, I worked on Pump It Up Infinity. I was one of the lead developers for Pump It Up Infinity.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Excuse me, where did that come from?
I always forget about this, but that's a thing that happened. Toby, an arcade operator in London, Endemiro were looking for programmers, and Toby, an arcade operator in London, had, like, contact with Endemiro, and they got me an interview at one of the Comic Cons I was actually staffing at. It was at the same venue, but it wasn't at a Comic Con itself. But I just rambled about Lua for like 20 minutes and then got the job.
They're like, you know what, this is what we need and pump it up.
And so we were working on that, and towards the end of the life cycle of Infinity, I was like, I want to make a Mawaru for Pump It Up Infinity. And somehow they let me do it.
That's awesome.
It was like K-Turn and K-Eternal. K-Turn really like pulled the strings to allow that to happen. And K-Turn actually made the like WarioWare like badly graphic drawn style Pump It Up cab. That was the transition for that Mawaru, and that's the transition that I used here for that. But the story of the character in the middle is even funnier, because in the original, it was Jonathan giving a thumbs up, Jonathan the Seagull, from the song Jonathan's Dream and Pump It Up. K-Turn then went on to make their own game called Noise, and in that game, Jonathan, the character, appears as like an evil version of him, as a boss that has like horns. And so I used that to like pay forward the shout out to like really cycle it back. Like, we're putting a reference to K-Turn's game in NotITG as a reference to Mawaru that they helped to make.
Jesus, that is so deep. That's like 3-4 layers deep. Jesus.
Yeah. But like K-Turn's lovely. I have great respect for that person.
Awesome. That's amazing. I didn't know you were an Infinity dev. I would have asked questions about that, but a different time.
Yep. And there is always at least one Tone Sphere reference in every UKSRT. So this is a song from Tone Sphere. This is also a Mario Maker reference, and at the same time, simultaneously, a Karameru reference. Like, so Karameru is this, like, animator from Japan who has, like, these little cat characters, and they did a choose-your-own-adventure style video where you're in a cave and you gotta, like, spelunk and make the right decisions to not die. And so I decided to, like, take those characters and put them in a Mario Maker style situation where you have to press buttons to, like, move the floor so you don't die.
That's very cool. Something I've noticed that I don't think you mentioned yet is that it looks like that if you fail these mods, then it's harder for you.
Oh, Right, no. If you fail the mods, you get an X and you don't get points, but it doesn't affect the chart.
Oh, okay.
In that particular minigame, there was a path choice.
Oh,
where you could choose
okay.
the easy path or the hard path, and the hard path has more coins and you get more points.
Gotcha. So then is the winner of this determined by the points that you get?
Yeah, there's like a whole scoring system that's actually explained right at the end, so we don't need to talk about that yet.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I've got a good rhythm going.
So this one's a little game where you gotta collect the souls. This is like a lore thing. So like there's that character who is mysterious girl who will be expounded upon. Oh man, Brother Mojo's Dr. Mojo's brain training. This is such a funny game idea. So what this is the arrow is shown on screen and a mod is shown on screen, and you have to hit the arrow that corresponds to what is on screen if that mod were active.
So, okay, so flips all the arrows, right?
Yeah, flip is right, up, down, left.
So, okay, so this is an up, but it would actually be down if flip was applied.
Yes.
Gee.
And you have to hit down, otherwise you hit the mines.
Oh, this is wild. Oh, this is...
And it's... So Brother Mojo is pretty much the guy that, like, wrote the book on column swaps.
Mm-hmm.
He, like, figured out every permutation that you can achieve using the 4 columns and, like, tabulated them down. And I honestly I took a screenshot of the page and still refer to that when I want to make a specific column configuration using left, down, up, right. Like, using just flip and invert.
Wild. That's so awesome.
So I threw this in as, like, a shout-out to him. So, invert. Invert's a good one. So invert flips these two. So left and down become down and left, up and right become right and up. So this up-down jump would become a left-right jump in invert.
Okay.
100% flip minus 100% invert. The way you're supposed to work this out, like, this one is bullshit, right? This one is intended to just be the one that you fuck up. But if you get it right, you get a skill point. You deserve the points. So this one is apply flip and then invert.
But what does a negative 100 invert mean?
So the reason it has to be negative 100 invert is because invert only moves left 1 unit to the right and up 1 unit to the right, for example, and down and right move 1 unit to the left. On flip, they're flipped, so normal invert would just continue moving in that same direction. You have to apply the opposite invert to actually have the normal invert effect once flip has been applied, because the arrows are in the wrong place.
Interesting.
So this one is... So it's an up, so you flip it first, so that's a down, but then you apply invert, so it's a left.
Wild. Absolutely wild. And then this is the same
That's
thing,
the
but
same,
with the right
yeah.
arrow. Okay.
That's an... Yeah, that's a down.
Okay.
So it's Mawaru 4's transition. Oh, that's Koizu. Yeah, that's the guy. Big Yoshi.
Big. Okay, this is what you're talking, or this is the touch game, right?
This is Citus, yeah.
Okay.
Just Shapes and Beats reference. So,
Is that just like a
pause for a
little
sec. So I like including sections like that in my mod files just to prevent them from becoming stamina things. Because that's not really a skill set that I actually want to test in my tournaments. So, like, even in like the hardest mod file ever, there's gonna be like a super chill break section just so you don't die.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
And a
but
mental,
yeah, so this
mental
is
break too.
the Legend of Mawaru. I like edited the Legend of Max banner to have fucking Mawaru, the previous Mawaru logos in them.
This is a good reference, yeah. So this is like the break section then.
Yeah, well that was the break, but this is like reference to Daiki's Forbidden chart, which is the hardest mod file ever created.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And then here's a continuation of the Stream Like section.
Okay. What does
So it's
FMS
like still going all these years later.
What does FMS cat mean? How
That's-
does one
that's-
stream like an FMS cat?
They're the person that implemented shaders into NotITG.
Okay.
So this is a song that they've charted. It's I by Chroma, and they have like these gimmicks that the background and the like cropping, the diagonal cropping is something that they used a lot in that file.
Okay.
So I just like put in a shout out to them because they're awesome and I love them.
Perfect.
And here's Baba Is You, if you've ever played that game.
I'm familiar with it. That is so cool.
I actually had to get I got like a semi-professional Baba player to like playtest this and try and break my level and find bugs.
Wow, that's so cool.
So shoutouts to A Dance of Fire and Ice, which is a game that I now work on. At the time, this was just like a random reference that I threw in. But I'm a developer for A Dance of Fire and Ice now.
Right now?
Yeah, I'm currently working on a DLC pack for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
But at the time, it was just like a shout out because I think their game is neat. But then like after SRTX, they were like, "Hey, are you looking for a job?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then so this is the like finale. I like threw in some callbacks to the Baba game. So you got Baba saying left is mine. It turns the whole left column into mines. And then always up makes them all up arrows. And that's every Mawaru. And then it ends with the very first stage of the very first UKSRT. And then here's the scoring system. So you get 93 is my chart score from just hitting the arrows. 7 of 8 games cleared. 6 of 6 mojo column swaps. Coins, a lot of the games had coins in them. And they all contributed to this coin score. Because it's like themed around 2DX Gold, the like Gold Rush song. And then in all of the games there are these coins that you can collect, and they're all worth points, and I have different ways of getting the coins in each game. So like in Baba you had to make the coins yourself and then collect them.
Yeah, that was
in the
cool.
in the Karameru like minecart section you had to pick the path that was harder because it had more coins in it. And stuff like that.
Okay, and then it gives you a score.
Gamer God skill is how many skill points you acquired.
I noticed that the skill point thing would pop up every now and then. Are those just like the really hard things to
if you did a hard bonus task in each individual microgame, that's something I came up with because Mawaru was very like linear before. It was just like you either won the game or you didn't. But now there's like a harder thing that you can go for if you're brave that like further separates the really good minigame players from the like just okay ones. And it makes there just be more score variance, which is good for tournaments. So,
Yes.
and I also like seeing if people feel like they have the balls to go for the harder thing and potentially die and completely fail the game.
Are you
So,
you a true gamer god? The step
if
chart.
you're spicy. And then
That's
the total
awesome.
score is given.
That is amazing. It is also like just between your first Maru and that Maru, like you could see so much like development of like mods charts and like your personal skill at creating stuff chart. It is super impressive.
Thank you. There's callbacks to the entire series. It's like I would say it's all worth watching to see like what the content is. And I'd say all of mods, like not just the stuff that I've made, is worth watching because everything references everything else because we all love each other.
I've noticed that. Lots of references.
Mhm.
A lot of references, callbacks. It does make it a little difficult to get into. It's like when you go on Wikipedia and you like look something up, and there's like a bunch of blue links that you didn't
Mhm.
understand, so you like open up those, and like in a couple hours you have like a big tree of Wikipedia
Yeah.
articles that you have to like traverse and like learn to like get back to the top.
I honestly love that though. Like, I've never played a Mass Effect game, but god damn, the lore is so good, and I just like wiki dived it for a week, and I know a lot about it for some reason, even though I never intend to play any of the game. I just love the story.
Yeah.
I just love characters. But with Mawaru, I try to pick things that are references that you would still find entertaining even if you didn't know what it's referring to. That's generally how I design a Mawaru. Like, the humor is just like absurdist nonsense that is just something funny happening on the screen, and you can look at that and laugh even if you don't get the deeper meaning behind it.
Yes, I definitely looked at it and laughed without understanding the deeper meaning behind it. So you did good. Awesome. This is great. Thank you very much for coming on and talking about all this cool mod stuff. It was really interesting to learn and see all these awesome mod things. If someone wants to play your charts, where can they download them?
NotITG.heysora.net pretty much has everything. And join the UKSRT Discord. There's a link to the Discord in the game itself. You can just go to the menu option, UKSRT Discord, and it will take you to our Discord.
That's
And
cool.
from there, you can check the pins and mod releases to see every mod file ever made, including old stuff from like 2005 by Brother Mojo. We just have all of the mods just like pinned in like there's like drop boxes and stuff.
But yeah, thank you for coming on.
Mm-hmm.